Your name and spelling, just for the editor too.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
My name is Gordon Heinrich. It's spelled Heinrich.
Okay. And your company, or
I actually don't call myself a company. I do business under my name.
Yeah.
Gordon
Okay.
Heinrich Farming, I guess
yeah,
you could.
that's what we're getting at. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to actually reiterate that question
Sure.
for the interview, just by
Okay.
telling me your name and a little bit about what you do and your
Okay.
farming operation.
Yep, ready to go.
Go.
Okay.
Okay, tell me your name and what you do.
My name is Gordon Heinrich, and I'm a fifth generation farmer here in the Modesto area. Our farming operation is a family farming operation, and it's under Gordon Heinrich Farming.
And what crops do you grow, and how many acres do you have? And where
I
do you
farm
locate?
approximately 650 acres. About 40% is in almonds, 40% in walnuts, and about 20% in open field crops, corn, alfalfa, beans, and some hay and forage. All of it is in the West Modesto area, and I've been doing this for about 38 years.
So tell me, as a multi-generational farmer, the importance of family farming to you and sustaining the land and resources for future generations. A little
Pause
bit
for
about-
1 second.
No, it's a really good question.
So this truck path.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, talk a little bit more about the multi-generational aspect of your farming operation and the importance of family farming and sustaining the land for future generations.
Well, my great-great-grandfather moved here to West Modesto in 1904, and he moved here from Lima, Ohio. They moved here as farmers, and they started dairies and was farming grain crops and hay crops. Then more recently, my father also had a dairy. I was raised on a dairy, and in 1963, because of low milk prices, he sold the dairy and planted almonds, and so we became almond farmers. Ever since my great-great-grandfather moved here in 1904, each generation of the Heinrichs has continued to farm in some form, and I think it's real important for us to be good stewards of the land and to leave the resources vital for future generations.
Excellent. Did you have something to say?
No, it was a good
Okay.
soundbite. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so let's. What does it mean to you, just in general? Just in general, what does it mean to you to farm sustainably? When you think of that, what does that mean?
Well, I think to farm sustainably means that we need to be able to produce a safe food product in a safe environment, economically and profitably. And also we want to be able to leave the resources vital for the next generations to come.
Can we try that question just one more time? The dog was kind of whining a little bit.
Okay, that
Sorry.
was a really good.
It's going to be in a different way now.
That's okay. That's okay.
It was good, but
we're
if
gonna
we
get the
could get
dog out of
another
there.
option, to choose from. So
Yeah, right. I mean, and they can. No wrong answer.
because that'll work. But if we can get a better one,
Okay, so do you mind kind of
No, that's
taking
fine.
another shot at that? What
Sure.
it means to farm sustainably?
I believe what it means to farm sustainably is to produce a food product that is safe, environmentally safe, and economically and profitably, and to leave the resources vital for the future generations.
Can we move a little bit into technology and practices that you use? Maybe talking about your irrigation, the amount and timing of your irrigation, and technology that you incorporate into making some of those irrigation decisions.
On our irrigation practices, we have about half of our acreage is under pressurized systems. And before about 30 years ago, 90% of this area was all under flood irrigation. There's new technology that's come to pass, and we are utilizing some of that new technology. There's a lot of advantages to pressurized systems. You have more control. You can meter the water for each irrigation, and you can do your intervals as close as what you need to.
Can
So,
we pick that up
yeah.
really quick? Just the advantages. What are the advantages of irrigation systems?
The advantages of a pressurized system, which would include solid set sprinklers, micro sprinklers, drip irrigation, is it conserves water for one. Second of all, it gives you the ability to meter any amount of water at any time that the crop needs it.
And what about the decisions that you make? I mean, do you use technology? Do you look at evapotranspiration rates and soil and plant moisture and things like that to try to get, the most efficiency out of let's talk a little bit about
Okay.
the efficiency and how you make those decisions.
Our decisions that's made for
Let's start
water.
that over.
Okay.
So talk a little bit about the decision making in your irrigation.
Our decision makings for our irrigation, we have several tools in our bag. One of them, we use what they call a pressure bomb, and it measures the stress on the tree. And we have a route. Every 3 days we monitor each orchard, and that tells us the stresses that's put on the trees and when we need to irrigate. It's very important. Water management is probably the most important aspect of farming. Everything else falls in after water management.
Let me just get that last sound bite. Like, what's the most important part of? You were saying the most important part of.
The most important part of farming is water management. And if you've got the water management down, everything else will fall in behind that.
Beautiful.
And moving into nitrogen fertilizers, similar question in terms of what you base your applications on, sampling, developing a nitrogen budget. Just kind of want to go over any of the tools that you use in getting
Okay.
the most from your nitrogen fertilization.
Our nitrogen program has many aspects to it. My brother works as a crop consultant, and so he's part of my team. I consider him one of my team, and I work very closely with him. Our nitrogen usage, if we're going to try to get it down to an understandable way, is we use approximately 1/10 of a pound of nitrogen for each pound of almonds produced. So in reality, if you produce a 2,000 pound crop, you'll use approximately 200 pounds of nitrogen.
And do you adjust that throughout the season in terms of making a yield assessment and then adjust what you expected to apply to your nitrogen going in? And has that changed over the years in terms of the information that you have and how you use that to make your decisions?
Our nitrogen applications have changed drastically over the years. Years ago, people didn't really use the scientific approach that we use today. And we put on approximately 4 or 5 applications a year. The first application is about 30%. The next one's 30%, 20%, 20%, and 10%. What we would call spoon feeding the crop. Years ago, they didn't used to do that. They would put on heavier applications, but with the price of nitrogen, we want to be in the groove of just exactly what that crop needs.
So that's excellent. Can we, in addition to the price, can you talk about some of the other factors that might be wanting you to really be able to dial that in terms of maybe, water quality or environmental impacts or yield, all those things? Can you kind of bring all that together and talk about the importance of getting that nitrogen just right?
Okay.
I know I'm throwing you a curveball.
That's okay. No, I think we can do that. There's a lot of science involved and a lot of research that has been done over the years as to the amount of nitrogen a tree needs, the timing. We have a lot of tools available to us. We do regular tissue tests and soil tests in our orchards, And that gives us a base for what we need to apply and when we need to apply it.
Do you have, oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'll go in order.
Okay, no problem.
Do you have potential water quality issues in this area, and how do you manage your pesticides or your nitrogen to mitigate any potential like off-site movement of things that you apply?
In the areas that I farm, I'm not aware of any water quality issues. We do take a lot of precautions in our operation when we use pesticides. First of all, we use drift agents to try to keep it on our targeted crops. Second of all, we wait for the right weather conditions to apply our pesticides, and that's very important. And as a result of that, we do a lot of our spraying at night.
And you kind of touched on that, but in terms of integrated pest management, do you want to talk a little bit about the tactics you use in terms of monitoring or sampling and how that's evolved over the years?
Okay.
You need me to ask you a question?
No, I didn't know if he was
Oh,
adjusting
you're
the camera.
good, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and ask it again.
Sure. In terms of pest management, can we talk a little bit about integrated pest management and sampling, monitoring, things that you do to make those pest management decisions and how that's evolved over the years?
Our pest management program has evolved over the years, and right now what we try to do when we have a problem, a disease, or a pest that's given us a problem in the orchards, we monitor it. We assess whether it's at a threshold that requires a spray. And then when we do spray, we have a tendency to use softer materials. We like to use the softer materials for two reasons. One is worker safety, and the second is for our beneficials in the orchard. We have found that if we keep our threshold and the level of beneficials in the orchard up, that helps in controlling the pests that we're after.
I'm really good at this. We're going to move into talking about
I've been at it for 38 years.
about the California Almond Sustainability Program. You okay? You
Yeah, no,
you
I'm
want
fine.
to
This leaning on
stretch?
this tree is getting tiring.
But it looks so good.
Okay.
It really does. Okay, so talking about the Almond Sustainability Program, tell me a little bit about when you first started participating and what you've done in terms of that participation so far.
My first participation in the Almond Sustainability Program has been about 1.5 years ago. I went to a workshop and filled out some modules. I can't recall how many, but it was a learning experience. I've been able to monitor it and look online and do some comparison with other growers. I think it's real important that we as an almond industry tell our story from our perspective. And there's no one else better to tell our story than us because we're out in the field every day.
Oh, you're just jumping ahead.
Sorry.
And you've done the online modules as well. You filled out.
I haven't really. I've won online, and but I haven't been back since.
We're not quite there.
I had a
Sorry,
great
I
teacher.
ratted you out.
I had a great teacher to show me the ins and outs of it, but I've just been busy, and
Farming, sure.
I'm not sure I can answer more questions on that module thing.
Okay, no problem. That was an excellent answer.
I'm not really up.
What about in terms of things that you might have learned from participating, comparing yourself to other growers? Did it make you think differently about any aspect of how you farm, or think about things you might want to try? Or
When I was online and comparing some of my program to other individuals, it really confirmed what I'm doing because I'm finding a common thread that everybody is pretty much on the same page. And I think that's a result of the research and technology available to us today and the science that we've learned over the years.
you kind of answered why you think individual growers should participate, just to tell their own story. Would you have
Yeah.
anything else you'd want to
I don't think so.
stick into your mind? That's fine. And can we just talk a little bit about the Almond Board in terms of what you perceive that it does for you as a grower,
Sure.
and how you feel about how the assessment dollars are spent?
I believe the almond board is a very important part of our industry. And the almond board spends a lot of money on research. I think is invaluable. We need to continue all the research that the almonds are doing, the product promotion, help with marketing our products is all invaluable, and I highly support the almond board and everything that they do.
Did you prep him on that? That was really good.
I sure appreciate it.
And then just, can we talk, I don't think I gave you this question. I just want to ask you about the tour and the value of having these people in the orchard and seeing firsthand how almonds are grown. Do you mind just giving us?
No.
Okay.
I'm really happy to be a part of this Almond Board Sustainability Tour, and I think it's a very valuable and a well-spent time that we can tell our story actually in the field with our orchards in the background. We're going to be explaining some of our methods, some of our program, and able to field some questions, and hopefully everybody will gain something from it.
Thank you very much. That was really good.
All right, good.
All right, give your shoulder a rest. Thank you. Okay. So we'll go ahead and just get your name and spelling and your title, like what business you work for or own.
Okay. My name is Garrett Bowman, Garrett Bowman, and the name of our farming operation is Bowman Farms.
Okay.
And now when we do the interview, you can just look at me and
Okay.
pretend that's not there.
Yep. Okay.
And so let's start out, just tell me your name and a little bit about your farming operation, where it's located and the crops that you grow. And
Okay. My name is Garrett Bowman, and we farm mainly in the West Modesto area. Farm about 550 acres of almonds.
Relax.
And
Okay, I'm gonna move this in just a tiny bit.
deep breath. That's what my tennis teacher tells me all the time. Breathe. Tell me when you're ready.
Yeah.
You ready?
Go. Yep.
Are you a first generation farmer? Or
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, so just
Okay.
take me through.
So I'm a third generation farmer in the Modesto area. My family actually has farming roots that started on the East Coast years ago. My grandfather moved here in the early 60s and bought land west of Modesto, and I'm the third generation here, and we're continuing to farm.
Got a minute.
Can we try that one more time?
Is he loud enough?
What's that?
Voice-wise, do you want him to come up?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty soft.
Can you speak up
Okay,
just a tad
yeah.
bit? Yeah, for me. And the other thing too is in between like the question and the answer, just give it a pause so that there's no overlap.
Okay.
You know, like the
Hold
end of
off
her,
on
the
it.
end of her question might be blending with the beginning of your answer.
Gotcha.
So just
Okay.
a quick pause. Perfect. We can get that one again.
You
if
want to
you
do
don't
that
mind.
again?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a third generation farmer here in the West Modesto area. Our farming heritage actually dates back a long time ago on the East Coast. My family was a dairy farmer there, and my grandfather moved here in the early 60s, started farming, and my dad continued on, and now I am.
And can you discuss, as a multi-generational farming family, the importance of family farming to you and in sustaining the resources on the farm for future generations?
The family farming for us is a way of life. It's very important to us to conserve the resources. We live on the farm, we drink the groundwater, our kids play in the orchard, they climb the trees, and so it's important to me to farm in an ethical manner, a sustainable manner, in a way that will allow my kids to continue to farm in years to come.
Great.
So what does it mean to you to farm sustainably? What does that word mean to you?
To farm sustainable to me means to farm in a way that promotes food safety, the safety of the environment, so that future generations can continue to farm and use the resources on down the road.
So moving into talking about your irrigation now, can we discuss some of the technology and practices that you use to optimize your irrigation, how much water you put on, and how you make those timing decisions?
Most of, probably 80% of our acreage is under low volume pressurized system, drip and micro sprinklers. We schedule using a variety of methods. Probably the first method we use for scheduling would be based off of forecasted ET for any given week. We monitor that with continuous feed soil probes, similar to like a PureSense system. And then we check that up with pressure bomb readings to ensure that the plants are not under any stress.
Excellent.
Keep your volume up.
Okay.
Kind of the same question for nitrogen fertilizers. What practices you use to ensure the efficient use of nitrogen fertilizers, and how you base your applications throughout the season, whether it's sampling and budgeting and that sort of thing.
So I'll start out with a typical year. We will typically make a nitrogen application in the fall to set us up for the next year. We make another application in the springtime around bloom to ensure that the tree is well supplied going into bloom. Then we take leaf analysis in April to give us a forecast of what our nitrogen will end up in the fall. And then we take a crop estimate and adjust our rates accordingly, and we shoot for around 70 units of nitrogen per estimated 1,000 meat pounds.
And how has that changed over the years in terms of when you sample, and a lot of that is evolving now, isn't it?
Yes, for us, a more traditional method would have been a large application in the fall, and then another application in the spring, and probably one more application midsummer. And then we would check our nitrogen levels in July and see where we were.
So I'm going to ask you to say that again, and then I would love to get that on film about what you used to do in terms of making those adjustments in July, and then now we're looking more at an April time frame, and how that helps you in terms of being able to respond for this season. Do you mind doing that?
Okay, so start with
how you would do it before and make those take those samples in July.
Okay.
And now you have this information to do this stuff in April, and how that's helped you as a.
Okay.
1 second.
Yeah.
In the past, our nitrogen management plan was to take leaf samples in July of the prior year, see where we ended up, and then we would make adjustments for the following year. We would start off with a fairly large application of nitrogen in the fall, followed by a application around bloom time, and then one in early summer. We've evolved from that to where we are making a small application in the fall, followed by a small application around bloom time. Then we take tissue analysis in early April, use the university model to predict what our July levels will be, and then we make in-season adjustments based on estimated crop load.
Perfect. Okay, so tell me more about. Well, do you have water quality issues, or is that something you need to?
There's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then can we talk about your integrated pest management programs and the tactics you use to ensure the judicious use of pesticides, sampling and monitoring, and that sort of thing?
We monitor, I need to start over. In our pest control programs, we monitor the pests as they arrive each year. For worms, we're out trapping and making applications based on insect growth. Monitor our weeds to determine that our herbicides are applied at when the weeds are most susceptible. When we do determine a pest, we look at any mechanical means that may be available to control that pest, as well as chemical means. We look at all our options available and make a decision based on the effects to the environment, cost, ease of application.
And can you talk a little about your participation in the California Almond Sustainability Program, when you first participated, how many modules you've done, and what that process was like for you to get involved?
I don't remember when I first started. I think I first sat down at a workshop at an Almond Board conference maybe 2 or 3 years ago when they were first starting. I did several modules then. I've been to a workshop since then and did some modules, and now I've been working online to attempt to complete all the modules for each of our blocks.
So I'm going to ask you to answer that again and just incorporate the question. I first got involved with the California
Okay.
Almond Sustainability Program 3 years ago, and now you're starting to move to filling those out online. Can
Okay.
you do that for me?
I first got involved with the Almond Board Sustainability Project several years ago at a workshop, and went to several workshops since then, and now have moved to completing them online for each of our blocks.
So can you talk a little about doing the online? Have you done all your?
I just played around with it for
You're kind of in
about
the
a
same
week.
position, you're just starting to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not probably comfortable talking about.
Probably not a lot. I've spent maybe an hour on it. So.
What about in terms can you talk sort of theoretically then about having all this stuff online and how that will help you just, if nothing else, make it easier? Right?
I think that by having the modules online will make it much easier to complete them for each ranch. Our records are right at our fingertips as we sit down at our computers. We can come in and work at it for an hour, 30 minutes, go away, come back again. We can do it in the evenings and the early mornings. Much more easy to access it, I think.
And have you learned anything from your participation in the sustainability program in terms of where you compare to other growers? Has it made you think about differently about certain aspects of your farming operation?
I would. Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
I would say that what I have learned from the modules is that it confirms that what we're doing is what is current recommended practices. Sometimes I have questions about whether we should be monitoring things differently, or it's good things to think about and keep us right on the cutting edge.
And why do you believe that individual growers should participate in the sustainability program? What does it do for the industry as well as for growers individually?
I think it's important for growers to participate, to tell the rest of the world how we're growing almonds, that we are growing them in a sustainable manner, in an environmentally safe manner. And I think for individual growers, it's good to just see how your practices match up to the rest of the industry.
Okay, and just if I can ask you an almond board related question in terms of what the almond board does for you as a grower and how you feel about how your assessment dollars are spent.
One second, sorry. Can you hear this? Okay. Okay, whenever you're ready.
I feel that the almond board is a very important part of the industry as far from the aspect of marketing and developing new markets and creating new demand. And as an in-the-field grower, I really think that the production research is extremely valuable to me.
And then just the tour question in terms of the value of having regulators who are establishing these rules actually come into the field and see firsthand how almonds are grown.
I think that it's important for the regulators to come out in the field, meet real people, and we can show them what we're doing, how we're addressing certain issues, and that we do care about the environment and yeah.
You want to take another shot at that? Because it was really
Yeah.
good.
I think that it is important for regulators to come out to the field and meet real people, see the issues that we face and what we're doing to address them.
Anybody else? Awesome.
It's there.
Great. Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
Diamond growers in this area. Want to welcome you and thank you for all coming out today. We appreciate the fact that you're going to take the time and come out here and learn a little bit about our industry. I'd like to take some of the time here to have the committee members and some of the participants introduce themselves. We can go around here and right over there, Doug, we'll start with you.
Hey, good morning. I'm Doug Flora. I'm on the environmental committee, and we manufacture harvesting equipment and do farming.
I'm Rob Kenneth. I work for Blue Diamond and serve on the environmental committee since its inception, when it was just a, what was it?
Task force.
Task force, yeah.
Mike?
Mike Flora.
Yeah, this is my son, Garrett.
I was going to point him next. Okay, and Garrett will be a major part of the tour today. Gordon?
Gordon Heinrich. I'm going to be one of the stops of the tour. Looking forward to being able to tell the story each one of you and tell you about our love and passion for what we do. Hopefully, with all of that, we get to know each other a little better and be able to share some ideas.
Okay, and I think that covers all the committee members here and industry people. Bob is with Island Board staff.
I'm Bob Curtis. I manage the production research program for the Almond Board, and Gabriel and I end up working very closely together because obviously issues in the environmental are very closely linked.
And last but not least, Gabrielle.
Hi, Gabrielle Ludwig, Associate Director, Environmental Affairs. I manage the Environmental Committee that you just met some of the members, so I get to try and manage these guys.
Tougher than it looks.
Just wanted to thank you for all of you coming out. This is, I believe, the 10th Environmental Stewardship Tour. It got started by Bob and my predecessor, Chris Hines, with the help of Mark Looker, who's here. And I hope that you enjoy learning a little bit about almond growing and what growers are doing to be good environmental stewards and be blunt to deal with the number of the environmental regulations that it's part of most of your daily lives. So that's part of the point of the tour. So again, thanks for coming.
As a side note, one of my growers happened to come in here earlier and he said, "What's the story in this?" And I told him what was going on. He says, "You do this for fun?" Yeah. So,
other Almond Board staff, Bunny Ibrahim. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Bunny Ibrahim. I'm with the Goodwood Air Staff.
Has Debbie vanished? And Kendall?
they vanished together.
Okay. We'll hear from Kendall later. Just a little bit about the tour, practical things, and then I'll hand it over to Gordon. Getting a bus at this time of year, it turns out to be impossible because of high school graduations and proms. So you get to choose someone to drive with in one of the vans, to divvy up between the vans, and then we will be stopping at 3 different orchards between Garrett's and Gordon's operations to look at different aspects of almond orchard management, and then we'll come back here for lunch, so just to give you a feel for that. So there'll be some getting in and out. We'll definitely be outside, and hope we don't lose too many people.
And while it's cool, at least it's not raining today.
Yeah.
And it's not 90-something degrees as it was last week,
nice.
so the weather gods have been kind. Gordon and Garrett, did you want to say anything?
Well, I guess the first stop is going to be at one of my ranches. It's just a couple miles down the road. We'll pull along the right side of the road and walk across the road to the orchard. And we'll congregate out there. We have a little bit of a presentation, and then we'll be able to field some questions afterwards. And hopefully we'll all gather a little something from it.
Yeah, let's take a few minutes here so we get to know who you are. And we'll start over on this side again, right here with you. And we'll start with Mark, okay? But I like affiliation, who you are and what you do.
I'm Mark Looker. I'm a consultant on board in California for the Environmental Stewardship Program.
I'm Tina Andolina with DPR. I'm the Director of Legislation and Policy.
Carlos Gutierrez, environmental scientist with registration branch and reevaluation.
Sebastian Sa, PhD candidate, UC Davis, collaborating a project with the Almond Board in Almonds.
My name is Frank Damerel. I'm with Senator Kathleen Galgiani's office here in Modesto.
I'm Sam Greger. I'm with the Air Resources Board. I'm overseeing the tractor regulations.
I'm Laura Zimmerman-Schmidt, and I work for the Air Resources Board, also working on the agro.
Lisa Jennings, Air Resources Board with them.
Brian Leahy with DPR. I'm a farmer in recovery.
Charlotte Fadifi, DPR, do communications and media.
Let me go back there for a moment. Yes, you.
I'm Ann McGar. I'm the consultant for the Senate Agriculture Committee. Cecilia Parsons, Ag Alert.
Steve Lecker, DPR. Doug Downey, DPR, Pest Management and Licensing.
Michelle Long, DPR, Environmental Monitoring.
Joshua Ogawa, DPR, Worker Health and Safety.
Tim Jones, EPR, Worker Health and Safety.
Saiful Chaudhary, Product Compliance Branch, Environmental Scientist, and we do state and federal inspection for compliance.
Vicki Whitney, State Water Board, Deputy Director for Water Quality, although before 2010 was in water rights for 25 years and was the Deputy Director for Water Rights for about 7.
Phil Wilson, Product Compliance Branch.
Brandy Martin, DPR, Enforcement Branch, Central Regional Office.
Dennis Whitley, Enforcement Branch, Northern Regional Office.
Tim Hardigan, I'm with Sam's group on the tractor rule at Air Resources Board.
Joe Browdy with Sure Harvest helped the board with their sustainability program.
I'm Brent Lackey, I'm Marketing Manager for the Western U.S. for Syngenta.
Alex Cochran, Agronomy Manager for the Western U.S. for Syngenta.
Vicki Boyd, I'm editor of multiple publications.
I'm Marnie Katz. I'm a freelance writer working with the Almond Board.
I'm Kendall. I'm with the Almond Board. I'm an industry relations coordinator, and I'm driving a van if you need a ride.
I'm Dennis Chessman. I'm with USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service.
My name is Aaron Lindgren, DPR. I handle pesticide product registrations.
My name is Sergio Peñalosa. I am with the RNCRS. I'm making a fellowship. I'm from Colombia, so I'm tall.
I'm Tom Hett. I'm with the NRCS, State Resource Conservationist.
Anita Brown, NRCS Communications.
Okay, we have 4 vans. There we go.
Five
vans. Okay. I'm driving one. I'd like at least one committee member on each of the vans, so as we're going from place to place, you can answer questions or tell people what they're seeing as they're driving past. So that you guys spread yourself out.
Drivers, why don't you come up?
Ready to go.
Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I'd like to welcome each of you to this portion of our tour. Garrett Bowman will be the next stop. I want to put a little bit of plug in at this point for Salida Hulling. I'm a member of the Salida Hulling Co-op, and that's where we started off. We're going to be going back there for lunch. It's a great facility. It serves about 120 members in this community. But I know Tony is going to be providing and offering a tour of the plant along with the solar farm that we just put in. So I'll just encourage, if any of you haven't went through that, to take advantage of that when we get back there for lunch. I'd like to just kind of introduce myself and tell just a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Gordon Heinrich, and I've been farming for about 38 years. Our farm, I would consider a family farming operation. My wife and I, we have raised 9 kids, 7 boys and 2 girls, and 3 of them right now is going to college down at Fresno State University. And can you imagine not one of them is majoring in ag? But not everybody's probably cut out for ag, but they're all going to be their own individual people. But I do have some of my children that are directly involved in the operation, and Without them, I would have a hard time really operating it. I farm approximately 650 acres, 40% being in almonds, about 40% in walnuts, and about 20% in field crops. My field crop operations include corn. This corn across the street we just planted. We raise beans and alfalfa and forage and just general crops for feed. My family's been involved with farming for quite some time. It's a generational thing, and each generation it's been a family operation. My great-great-grandfather moved here in 1904, and he moved here from Lima, Ohio. They were farmers in Lima, Ohio. They moved here and they started a dairy. A lot of people moved here in the early years and they started with dairies. This was before almond production was actually part of this community. And since my great-great-grandfather moved here, each generation has been involved with farming. More recently, my father in 1963 owned a dairy. I was raised on a dairy, and when the milk prices got too low, he decided to sell out and start planting almond trees, and thus we become almond farmers. So we've been doing this over the years. It's been a generational thing, and I'm glad that we're able to be a part of this tour to talk about our part of the story and our love and compassion for what we do. My operation involves many different aspects, and I considered it really a team event. It takes a team to do it, and two people that's on my team that's here today that I want to introduce and will be able to share with you a little bit later is my son Eric here, and my brother Dwayne. Dwayne is a crop protection specialist. I consult with him when it comes to crop protection, nutrition, soil amendments, and just general crop production advice. Eric here has been involved in my operation. He also, oh, by the way, Dwayne is also an almond farmer on the side. Eric is also an almond farmer and a walnut farmer. He has his own operations going on, and Eric does my soil moisture monitoring, and he's going to get in to explain a little bit more what that is with the tools that he uses and how we do that. Eric also is my crop protection applicator. He takes care of most all my applications for crop protection. Just a little bit about this orchard and why we stopped at this particular orchard. This orchard is approximately 14 years old. It was planted, I believe, in 1997. There's 3 different varieties in this orchard. There's a flagship variety, which is known as the nonpareil to anybody that's is knowledgeable about the industry. And then we have 2 other varieties, the Syrah. This particular outside row is a Syrah. And then we have the Aldridge variety. This orchard is flood irrigated, and we here in the Modesto Irrigation District are very fortunate to have the purity and the abundance of water that we get. Our watershed is out of the Sierra Nevadas. It's all gravity flow system. We have a supply in a reservoir in the Don Pedro Reservoir, which also produces hydroelectricity as we turn it loose into the irrigation systems. The system was developed in about early 1900s. It's all gravity flow. It's a canal system with cement pipes. Some people today would say maybe this is a little bit of an antiquated system. There's certain crops that adapt well to it, and there's been new technological changes since we first started the MID. And now that leads into pressurized systems. So I want to just talk just a little bit about the different types of irrigation systems that we use in almonds today. One of them, of course, is just this flood irrigation. The pros and cons of flood irrigation is the pros is we have an abundance of water. There is some years that we have a lower snowpack and we do run a little bit short of water, but for the most part we have an abundance of water, and the purity of water is about as pure as you're going to get it. So that's really good for growing our crops. The downside to flood irrigation is that you don't have as much control over how much water you put on. You can't just say, I'm going to put on an inch of water or half inch of water and then put another half inch on. You have to flood the ground, and it's depending on the level of the ground, you pretty much kind of get what you take. The other types of irrigation systems that we have, that we utilize, is all pressurized systems. It's solid set sprinklers with a booster pump. We have micro sprinkler irrigation systems, and we have drip irrigation systems. Each one has their own advantages and disadvantages, and the advantage of a pressurized system of those three categories is that you can meter about any amount of water you want out there at any time. And so you can give the tree, you can just spoon feed it with the amount of water that's needed, and you don't have to, it's not a slam bang like a flood irrigation system. The other advantage, of course, on these pressurized systems is that we can put nutrients into the application of water. And by putting nutrients in, we can actually meter them in at very precise amounts. It's right into the root zone, right where the tree needs it. Pressurized systems are very expensive. And where years ago, probably 30, 40 years ago, there was only maybe 5% or less that was actually pressurized systems. In the past 30 years, more and more people are going to it. Half of my units that I farm is under a pressurized system. Again, I say they're very, very expensive to put in. They can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 per acre. That's a huge investment for somebody that's just starting a young walnut orchard with that type of investment already in the bag. So to add on to that, they're very expensive. There's also some variances in pressurized systems. One variant is if you're using surface water or MID water. That's the most purest form of water, and all you really need is a booster pump to pump it up to pressure to be able to irrigate your orchard. Then the other variant is well water. Well water isn't quite as good of quality as what our surface water is. It costs more to drill your well, and also the lifting, your power costs are a little bit more because you got to lift that water up out of the ground. So those are some of the pros and cons of some of the irrigation systems. I'm just kind of covering some of the highlights. There's a lot more to it than what I'm really talking about. The other aspect of I want to just cover on these pressurized systems is the solid set sprinklers has the largest orifice. It might have a 3/32 of an inch orifice on it. A drip irrigation, it has a very, very small orifice because all you're doing is admitting a drip at a time. And so the smaller the hole, the more expensive and the more sophisticated your filtration system has to be. And so if you're going with a solid set, that system, the filtration system isn't quite as much, but the overall system is more expensive. The drip irrigation, you can get by with a smaller pump, smaller horsepower, but your filtration system is very, very costly. And it depends on where you're getting your water. If you're getting it out of our MID canal system, there is sometimes there's moss and algae and different things growing in there that you have to be able to filtrate out. So the other thing I wanted to talk just a little bit about is orchard management. Orchard management is divided into a number of different segments. One of the segments is the cultural practices that we use, which would involve pruning and training, vegetation management, mowing, and different types of ground preparation. Another part of management is water management. If there's one key to growing any crop or any vegetative plant, it's water management. Everything else follows in behind water management. And if you do the water management right, it's really hard to mess up on some of the rest. So I can't stress that enough. And we're very fortunate that we have tools today that we never used to have. And it's becoming more and more of a science of how we monitor our moisture and how we apply our irrigations. Another part is nutrient management. Another very important part, and it's right under water management in importance. Nutrient management would include anything that we do foliar on the leaves, or anything that we actually apply to the ground, and the trees will pick it up with their roots. Today we're very fortunate that we have tools in our bag that we never used to have before, and that is the ability to monitor what the tree is actually using and taking up, the levels of each nutrient as in tissue tests. And so we do take advantage of that, and that helps us to determine the amount of nitrogen and potash and different types of nutrients that we put on these trees. And of course, the next part of orchard management is probably the most enjoyable and fun part, and that's the harvest. And we do have to manage that part. And when we get it all in, we can take a little rest. But we're really we work all year long just so that we can get to that climax, that end part, and that makes a whole year enjoyable. And it's not sometimes without challenges. All of our life is with challenges, whether it's farming or anything else. But we enjoy meeting those challenges. When it comes to orchard management, I farm over 20 different locations. Each location is a little bit different. It's special and unique in its own ways. Some of them have different irrigation systems. Some of them have different soil types. There's different crops. There's different varieties. There's different ages. There's different surrounding environments. And so you put all that together, and we have to be able to adapt to each one of those challenges and adapt to each one has its own little program, each orchard. No orchard that I farm is really treated exactly the same. There's always some small differences there. I think at this point we're going to have a time when you can ask some questions later. But I'd like to introduce my son Eric Heinrich, who is I consider a member of my team. And come on up forward, Eric. Eric is going to talk a little bit about our moisture monitoring program.
I'm going to ask some questions.
Oh, you want to ask questions now? That'd be fine. Yeah.
Two things. One is you mentioned that there are 3 varieties in here. When you do harvest, do you harvest them all together or do you harvest them separately? So when you talk about harvest being complicated in almonds, what are you talking about?
Good question. The question is do we harvest together, the timing of harvest? We have the flagship variety in basically the whole Central Valley is the nonpareil variety. In this orchard here and in most orchards, 50% of the variety is nonpareils because that is what the market really desires. That's the first to be harvested. That usually is harvested about 2 weeks ahead of all the rest of the varieties. So that one's harvested separately. The other 2 varieties we have out here is Aldridge and a Syrah. And they're harvested at the same time, but about 2 to 3 weeks after the nonpareil.
I'm just going to say 2 words. Just so you guys know, the almonds is prunus species. I always like to say you're basically looking at a peach and you can eat it. But what you're eating is the seed on the inside. Okay. But I mean, I think for some people it's easier when you think about almonds, basically think peaches, where the peachy part during development dries up, splits open, and then you get the shell and the kernel part. That's what we're really interested in, you know, from a harvesting perspective. But just to say, so this is now, what stage of development we're looking at here?
These nuts are just approaching the development where the kernel inside is starting to turn solid. It's a gel to start with, and once they turn solid, it just continues to develop. Starting in about the middle of July, you'll see the outside hulls start to split, and they'll start to dry down, and we usually start our harvest when you have enough of these dried down and opening up. We start our harvest sometime in about the end of August, first part of September on the nonpareils. Now underneath the hull on the outside is the shell. I feel like this is a little bit elementary. Hopefully everybody maybe has ate a few almonds in their life and knows about almonds. But underneath is the shell. It usually has a pretty good seal to it. So there's a lot of protection with an almond. You got the outside hull, you've got the next layer, which is the shell, and then your meat is inside. And so sometimes little worms like to get in there and eat. Just another note is the outside hull, when we take them to the first point of processing, which is our huller sheller, these hulls are separated into a pile, and there's a market, and these are fed to livestock. It's a real plus for us as almond growers and huller shellers that we have this as a byproduct, and it's in high demand. Dairies like to use this for to feed and supplement for some of the fiber and protein that's in the hull. Okay, good question. The question is, why do we have multiple varieties? Why don't we just have one? Wouldn't that be much simpler? Well, the answer to that is in almond production, there is what we call cross-pollination. And the nuts on this tree has to be pollinized from the pollen of a different variety. And so we also have to put bees out to help and assist us with our pollinization. Almond pollen is very heavy, and it doesn't really get blown around too much with the wind. So we rely on insects, and especially honeybees, to be able to cross-pollinize. And it's kind of by accident, because the bees will go into the variety next to it and get nectar from that flower, and they get the pollen gets rubbed off onto their legs and parts of their body, and then they don't know what direction they're really going to another variety, but they go to another variety, and that pollen can be rubbed off and pollinize that particular flower. There is some new varieties. I want to just say this, that has been developed. One of them is called Independence, and this variety has been developed by Zager Nursery, and they don't require more than one variety in the field. They can do a solid set of independent variety. They say they don't require bees, but I know that people are putting bees on. The final chapter on that variety has not been completely written. Anytime we have a new variety introduced into the field, it takes 10, 12, 15 years really for some of the imperfections, if there is any, to come out and manifest themselves. So we're still waiting. We're hoping that this is a good variety, because it would simplify a lot of our operation. One harvest, maybe we can get by without bees, and so forth. So we're hoping it's a success, and I know there'll probably be more varieties like that introduced as time goes on. We're an evolving industry. New technology, new methods, new things are coming along all the time. Okay, well, we'll continue to field questions as we can, but I would like to introduce my son Eric, and he's just going to give just a brief description of how he is part of my operation and in his soil monitoring and the tools that he uses. So